Greetings, everybody. How are we doing today? This is Jacob Walters here of Jacob's Realm talking with you today. Well, we're just going to have a laid back session today and talk about anything going on. I left it on Twitter or X or the Bird app or whatever you want to call it for you to ask me anything. You can ask me anything going on in my life. You can ask me about the Golden Knights. You can ask me about my cat Ginger. You can ask me anything that you wish or desire. So I left it open for you. And my goal today is to just have a laid back session. Because usually what happens during the summer months in hockey season is that nothing literally goes on. It's usually just, okay, we got the off season period done. We got this, and this all squared away. Now it's just, hey, we need to focus more on preparing for the season. Of course, we got the NHL schedule releasing this week. So that will be a lot of fun. And that will also determine when I'm going to be taking my York trip, which is going to be one big series of travel guides. It's going to be one big series of travel guides. As you guys voted, we're doing the New York trip. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. It's the first time that I've ever gone to New York. Well, it will be the second time because I'm going to be actually going this week. Next week. So it's going to be another trip. So I'm going to be getting a little bit of a feel of how Madison Square Garden is because I'm going to be going to Saturday night's main event for WWE. And that will be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I can't wait. And it's going to be a good time just checking out Danhausen, watching Cody Rhodes and CM Punk take on Sami Zayn and Gunther. Good stuff to be had. Alas, I threw out the question for you guys. And I want you guys, when we do these kind of sessions, you can just ask me anything. You can ask me anything going on in my life. You can ask me like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Etc. Etc. And I'm more than willing to throw out the answers out there for you. Talk a little bit about, hey, this is what's happening. Everything in between. As I sit here and I'm watching Norway versus England go down, I'm just sitting here shooting the breeze. It'll probably be done by the time that this episode uploads. But you can ask me literally anything going on. So let's start things off. Honest VGK fan on Twitter or X or the Bird app says anything. Yes. Anything as long as it's appropriate and it won't get us like taken off the air. Because you want to check this out on jacobsrealm.com, that's easy to do. And you can check out the site right here. But you can also listen to this on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the other major areas in the podcasting realm, like Amazon Music too. Exact same thing. You can check it all out. So generally with these sessions, I want to have a little bit of fun. I want to be like, hey, let's take the time to wait for hockey. Let's wait a little bit on what's going on with the Golden Knights and talk a little bit about what's happening within the realm. But since we can't really do that with the dead months coming in, why not have a little bit of fun? So yes, you can ask me anything as long as it won't get me canceled or put off the air. mbot.h.hl on Twitter asks, who's your favorite original Misfit? So I don't know if you know the jersey that I'm wearing. That's Marc-Andre Fleury's old jersey. And I like him a lot based on his character, based on how he carried himself during that Vegas run that he had. He really is a laid back guy. He really is a chill dude. He's not going to cause too much trouble in the hockey world. He seems like a guy that you want to just relax, have a beer with. And he's also pretty funny too. So I like him a lot. I also like William Carlson a lot, just based on the fact that and by the way, you can check out the latest William Carlson article on VegasHockeyNight.com right here. You can check out the latest news, rumors, and everything in between on VegasHockeyNight.com. So be sure to check it out. Spread the good word. I like him a lot just because he's been extremely committed to the community. He's been one of the OG Golden Knights that has really stood out. So definitely love him. And also, I like Riley Smith just based on the fact that he came back and he took a pay cut. I know that's asking for a lot for a guy, but he wanted to come back. He didn't want too much drama. He didn't want to cause too much trouble. He wanted to come back and just play for the Golden Knights. He had a home here and he loves it here. And you got to give it up for him on that front. You got to give it up for a guy who's willing to commit and sacrifice so much just to stay here, just to stick around and commit. So I like Riley Smith a lot. Those are kind of the three misfits that I like a lot in terms of the Golden Knights. I think those guys are fantastic. Definitely worth keeping around. But again, that's not how a team is supposed to be run. It's supposed to be winning no matter what. And for Kelly McCrimmon and the Golden Knights, they kind of understand that a little bit. So I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but you're rooting for, I know the jersey's a little bit tatered, but you're rooting for the logo on the front and not the name on the back. That's what we always say. So definitely something to keep in mind. Crystal Pepsi 98 says, hi. Hi, Kevin. Hi. How you doing today? And then he goes on to ask, quick question. How will the Henderson Silver Knights do with Joel Ward as the head coach? I think they'll do just fine. I do worry a little bit that there might be some pieces that might go over to the Golden Knights and get promoted. Of course, you're talking about Braden Bowman, who stood out for the Golden Knights in his first season. So there's that. I also think that there's also the added expectations that now you have to win. After finishing in third place in the Pacific Division, now you have to like do something else. You have to do something above that and go above and beyond the call. What are you going to do in that aspect? And with Ryan Craig, he made that happen with the Silver Knights. And I know it was just for one season. We'll get more into that a little bit. But now the expectation is for Ward and company to do a lot more, elevate their game, go above and beyond what you did last season, and essentially take the reins, lead the Silver Knights to a Calder Cup fire. That's going to be the big thing. There might be some pieces that stick around. Tanner Laczynski is a name that is going to be probably going to be coming back next year for the Silver Knights. He was fantastic with the Silver Knights last season. He should do great things again. It's not like he's going to be outright bad. He actually was very serviceable with the Silver Knights during his his Nevada residency. I want to say Vegas residency, but Henderson is in Vegas now, isn't it? Anyways, I think a lot of that will depend on how they respond to some of the guys that are going to be promoted. So, as I mentioned, Bowman, I think, is going to be the biggest lock to make the Golden Knights roster from that Henderson Silver Knights group. I also think that Connolly has a good shot. Wouldn't be surprised if Lindbaum did, although it's looking at Aiden Hill, it's more likely that he's going to be getting a look in the net rather than Lindbaum. So he might need another year or two. And then you also have other guys like other dark horses like you, Jazz, or Urinen too. that might make a run. I don't think they'll make the roster outright, but worth watching. So I think it really depends on how the Henderson Silver Knights respond to those guys coming up. If they can pick up where they left off, perfectly fine. If they can't find any guys to fill the void, then there's a problem. I'm not as concerned about it as people think, just because the Golden Knights have a lot of goaltending depth in terms of the prospect pool. There are a lot of guys for the Golden Knights that can come in and play goaltender. And they're a very diverse bunch too. You have your regular butterfly position, butterfly style goaltenders. You have your big goaltenders that don't need to move around too much. There's a lot of variety there that works for the Golden Knights. And I think the Golden Knights are starting to become a premier destination for goaltenders to develop and become something. They're at least trying to make that happen. So wouldn't surprise me if the Golden Knights can get a lot of mileage from their goaltending. There's no telling how well they can do. And I look at the 2012 Los Angeles Kings as a perfect example. Jonathan Quick. Many people remember him as a former Golden Knight here, at least. But long time ago, once upon a time, in a land far, far away in Hollywood, where you have all the snobby celebrities and all that jazz, there was a goaltender named Jonathan Quick who didn't really need the fame and fortune. In fact, he had a generational run in 2011, 2012 with a save percentage of .929, a goals against average of 1.95, and 10, a perfect 10 shutouts during that run. And his postseason stats were much more absurd. You want to talk about like goals against average? How about 1.41 and a save percentage of .946? Yeah, 3 shutouts during that time too. .946 for the save percentage. Yeah, that's really good for Jonathan Quick, and he was the sole reason why they won the Stanley Cup that season. So Golden Knight fans will remember him coming over from Columbus, and he was originally traded from Los Angeles to Columbus after he kind of showed his age a little bit. And the Golden Knights were really hungry for goaltending because every goaltender was dropping left and right, like Adin Hill, Logan Thompson, you name it. They were all dropping like flies. So they had to get somebody like Jonathan Quick. And yeah, you weren't going to get the same Jonathan Quick that was going to come in and just dominate, but still, he was serviceable, came in under Bruce Cassidy's system and did very well. So I will go back to the point that it depends entirely on how the goaltending holds up. You also need a good defensive structure in front of you. That's also going to be contingent on how the Silver Knights do. If the Silver Knights don't allow too many goals this upcoming season, they should be good to go. So Kim on Twitter says, I got the feeling that we were bored today. Yeah, great minds think alike. What can I say? And I will go back to this point. The NHL months during this time, like later July, August, even like early September, are kind of the boring dog days, if you will. It's basically just us shooting the breeze and talking about basically nothing and reviewing what went down here, what went down there, and a lot of history and all that stuff, which with the Golden Knights, it's kind of hard for an expansion team, for a newer expansion team like us to really harp on our history and talk about what happened in the past when we just started in 2006, 2017. So it's a little bit harder for us to talk and navigate that topic a little bit. So yeah, great minds think alike, but I'm probably going to do another one of these sessions later on in August. So that way we can have a little bit of fun with this. and talk a little bit about Golden Knights hockey. And you can ask me anything. Those are the rules. And you can also check out this episode. Hold on one second. Episode jacobsrealm.com. Again, jacobsrealm.com is where you can find these podcast episodes if you want to see my beautiful face. And you can also check out this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, you name it. That's where you can find it. So check it out. I'm also going to be doing a little bit more on the blogging side from a personal standpoint. Have a little bit of fun with that. So be sure to look out for that at some point. And yeah, we're just going to have fun with this website. We're just going to go and just play around with it a little bit and have a good old jolly time. Mitch Martyr Lover on Twitter says, predict our record for the 2026-27 season. I said 50 wins in the Pacific Division title. And I think that's the ceiling in the regular season for this team. Just because the Pacific Division has been historically a mess. And that is going to be challenged next season just based on the Anaheim Ducks coming up, the San Jose Sharks coming up. The Edmonton Oilers are still a strong team. They made some decent moves that should help them out in terms of viability and being a competitive Stanley Cup contender. I think personally that 50 wins in the Pacific Division will be the ceiling. I think they'll probably go for 45 wins, maybe 40, 43. But I think a lot of that had to do, last season's performance had to do with them being stuck with Bruce Cassidy. And they found a different level with John Tortorella as their head coach. The veterans absolutely loved him. Keegan Colasar was talking about how Tortorella made him crack up. John Tortorella, a guy who was normally known for chewing out the media, telling a head coach to shut his yap, and for telling a reporter that he was beat up at the bus stop all the time. This guy with a Napoleon complex, chewing out reporters, making fun of head coaches, goes in and just berates people, was beloved by the Golden Knights locker room. But I think that's the other thing you got to keep in mind too. Kelly McCrimmon and the Golden Knights really didn't want to go back to another explosive personality. And Bruce Cassidy, as good as he was as a head coach, was kind of that personality on a smaller scale at least compared to Tortorella. He was known for chewing out his players, although he wasn't known to drop some F-bombs during the practice, which I heard him do. And oh my gosh, I got a good kick out of that. But for Tortorella, for Bruce Cassidy, he lost the locker room. He lost the locker room in a sense. And I think that's what led to him being relieved of his duties. I can't say he was fired because that's not true. He was relieved of his duties. There's a reason why he wasn't allowed to go negotiate with other teams. Was if he was fired, he wouldn't be able to do that. Now, would he? But that sort of personality really rubbed the Golden Knights the wrong way to the point where they just tuned him out. And it happened as well in Boston, where some players were like, I don't like this guy. I'm not a big fan. And again, I'm not diminishing his abilities as a head coach. He's a fantastic head coach. I think a team like Toronto could have used him to get them to the next level, at least in the short term, because Bruce Cassidy is very good at constructing good defensive schemes and really playing to a goaltender's strength or two. And it really just shows that he's able to make you into an instant contender and even bring you to a Stanley Cup final. But that whole toxic personality issue can weigh on a team too. So now the Golden Knights, you're wondering, geez, we're about to miss the playoffs for the second time in our franchise history. What are we going to do? We need to make a bold move. We need to be brazen. We need to do this, this, and this. Do something a little bit different. So Kelly McCrimmon was bold. He relieved Bruce Cassidy. Almost said fired. Almost said it. He relieved Bruce Cassidy of his duties and brought in Tortorella. Now, with Brian Craig, here's the big question that I have. How will he handle the veterans? Will the veterans respect him? I think what he has going for him is the fact that, hey, the veteran, like, he's been tenured with this team since day effing one. He was an assistant coach for 6 seasons. He was the Henderson Silver Knights coach for 3. So there's a good reason to believe that he'll have some form of success with the Golden Knights as the head coach. And I think that will also come into play here. So I think that the Golden Knights should be fine. I'm a little bit concerned based on how the team responds to Craig in the first go round. So I would expect them to still do well. This is still a talented team with a lot of good players on the Golden Knights. I mean, Mitch Marner, Jack Eichel, you got Mark Stone, Shea Theodore, you name it. But it really comes down to how the head coaching does. If everything's all good, hey, we're good. We're easy breezy, ready to go, and we're all chilling. So, Brandon on Twitter, how far do you think a Category 4 hurricane can launch a standard NHL? That depends entirely on the location. So if you're talking about Florida, and by the way, if you guys want to check out any articles, VegasHockeyNight.com is where you go. Latest news, rumors, and everything in between. Let's see what we're talking about regarding Brian Craig and the Golden Knights. But a standard NHL puck. If we're talking about Florida, probably Alabama or into the Gulf of America. If we're talking about like North Carolina, probably to Tennessee. I would expect that to be blown all the way to like Nashville. Because those things are very small. Yes, they're little rubbery discs, but they can also go flying real quick, especially from a strong hurricane wind. So very interesting indeed. I just brought up some trauma too from the 2026 Stanley Cup final. Oh my God. I don't want to even think about that again. I know the Golden Knights weren't expected to win that series. Carolina was the favorite. But man, that team had a lot of good opportunities to come in and take the series and shock a lot of people. Alas, it wasn't meant to be. A lot of things happened. Rasmus Anderson costing a few games here and there. The team clamming up in terms of playing well in the Stanley Cup final. Oh my gosh. It still stings, trust me. It still stings because a lot of Golden Knights fans were really hoping that this would be another year of a win. But oh well. At least I got a nice little if you can see that tattoo right there. My nice little tattoo. So hell yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. Like I said, we're gonna be doing a lot more of these Q&A sessions, Ask Me Anything, AMA, whatever you want to call it, every month or so, at least during the dog days of the hockey season. So, and by the way, NHL schedule is releasing, so I will announce where I'm going. Well, probably not for another week because I'm going to be in New York. So, but we're going to go over the NHL schedule a little bit, what I hope to see from the season, and talk a little bit about that. Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, screw it. We'll announce it on this next Saturday. Easy squeezy lemon peasy. Nothing to worry about. Be sure to check out VegasHockeyNight.com once again. That is where you can get the latest news, rumors, everything in between regarding the Golden Knights. And you can get my lovely opinions on there. And we got plenty of other opinions coming up too. Got plenty of writers coming in there and contributing, which is fantastic. Always a good time. Also, be sure to check out jacobsrealm.com as well. This is where you can check out the latest podcast episodes if you want to see my pretty face on here. Or if you want to go and listen to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you get your podcasts. So you can also check out jacobsrealm.com on Amazon Music too. So the new one that we added not long ago. Also, be sure to check out Vegas Hockey Nights content on Facebook. You can check out Golden Knights Fans. That is the one page that we run. Also, Vegas Hockey Night. Although I do have some plans on shutting down soon, just so we can get you over to Golden Knight Fans. And you can also check out Twitter as well, FS Vegas Hockey. And you can also check out Instagram Vegas Hockey, Jacob Vegas Hockey Night as well. And you can also check out the TikTok Jacob Vegas Hockey Night. So I'm Jacob Walters here of Vegas Hockey Night saying so long. Have a good night. And you kids stay out of trouble. Cheers.